His MVP. Golfs one, right field. Forget about it. Rangers strike first. Goes after the first one. Drills a high fly ball. Left center field. This game is tied. From Javier. Seager hits a high fly ball. Deep right field. A bomb in the first. Drive. It's tied. Seager smashes the ball. Down line. Goodbye. Now Seager to right center field. Way back there. Shot again. Corey Seager does it again. It's Texas Rangers win the World Series. The Willie Mays Most Valuable Player Trophy presented by Chevrolet. Is there any doubt? Corey Seager.
And welcome to another edition of Right on Rangers Live. It's been a while. It's good to be back. Glad to be hanging with y'all as spring training coming to a close here in just a couple of days. Of course, the Rangers back at Globe Life over the next couple of nights to close out the spring training season. Kansas City Royals in town for that. I think the Royals and the Rangers are still battling right now. I've just been getting score updates as we go. Right now, I know you can watch for free on MLB.com, but I must admit, some of the ways to watch, it's been a little complicated for me out here in Vegas. I'm looking forward to the season beginning. It gets a whole lot simpler when it comes to getting the Rangers on your TV or on your screen, I should say. But right now, by the way, Rangers up 6-3, late innings. We're going into the bottom of the eighth here. Looks like we have a number of different pitchers that have gotten into the game. Tyler Mahle started this one off, 3 innings pitched, couple of earned runs for him. And there have been some standouts in regards to the scoring. Jock Peterson, the bottom of the 7th inning, big home run. He has had a number of those this spring. We're going to kind of keep you updated on how that game is going. And we have some major things to discuss. It has been a while since we have gotten on here to do a little spring training update. A lot going on. Spring break, a little time away. Always good as we get into the start of this baseball season. And I will definitely be going, I don't want to say every game, but after a lot of games, we'll be doing our regular post-game analysis, which I am really looking forward to. Last year, we went live after almost every single game. That was a little ambitious of me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to duplicate that this year. It definitely was fun, but it was not easy working that into the daily schedule. But I'm going to try and go live at least once per series. I think that should be great. Maybe more depending on the game, depending on the outcome, all that good stuff. But before I get into it too much more, let me start with this. Of course, all of y'all that have been with me for a while know the drill. But here at Right on Rangers, we cover everything sports. But we put a big emphasis on all the teams we love from the great state of Texas, including the Rangers and especially the Rangers as we begin this 2025 MLB season. Thank you for choosing Right on Rangers for all of your Texas Rangers content. Let me say what's up to everybody hanging out. Oh, what's good, man? I'm seeing a couple people coming in on YouTube. What's up? What's up? Thank you for tuning in. Went to watch the Braves-Pirates game in Florida. Spring training games in Florida, just always, I think, a little bit different. I've always enjoyed spring training in Florida over Arizona. Nothing against Arizona. You just can't beat Florida spring training. I've been to both. Definitely enjoy spring training as a whole, but I'm a little partial to the Florida experience. I think it's the beach. You get to go see a baseball game, and then you go hit the beach. It's just a blast. The weather's beautiful. Arizona can actually be a little bit unpredictable with the weather sometime this time of year. You had a few games the Rangers were playing in the high 50s, low 60s, rainy, spitting on you. I definitely think that Florida, you got the 75, 80-degree games almost every day. You got a little bit of rain in the spring season, but it's hard to beat the Florida experience. 100%. What's good, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Trying to catch up with comments before I get right on into it. And, of course, I'll keep y'all posted on how the game finishes out at Globe Life. Rangers back at home to end spring training. MLB webcast. I'm going to have to remember that one. Appreciate that. Look, I definitely, back in the day, I feel like I got super creative when it came to figuring out ways to watch Rangers games. For spring training, a lot of the highlights, fortunately, these days get posted on different socials. A lot of the beat writers, of course, are down there. A few games I think I was able to watch online this year, but I got to admit, I was not going all out trying to make sure I got a stream for each and every game. So I'm definitely looking forward to the season beginning. I think based on everything that I've been able to read, research, all y'all know, I don't proclaim to know everything, but I feel like I've got a pretty good pulse on where the club is at right now. And of course, I'm anxious to hear from you guys to see what you think. Let's get right on into it. So something that really surprised me that really just came out a few days ago. And no, I'm not talking about the Dane Dunning news, which was equally surprising, I think, just a few days before the season begins. But I want to talk about Evan Carter. Evan Carter on the chopping block for the opening day roster, not something that I had on my bingo card. And I know Evan Carter has not had an amazing spring training, but I had no thought at any point that Evan Carter potentially was not going to make the opening day roster. Evan Carter, by the way, speak of the devil, he is up to bat right now. Of course, Evan Carter, we don't believe he's the devil. I actually really love Evan Carter. But as the saying goes, Evan Carter right now hitting 158 this spring. 158. And look, there's a lot of arguments you can make. You can play each side. Clearly, spring training is a time where guys are working on things. But with Evan Carter's subpar 2024, and yes, I do include the injury into the mix. I don't give Evan Carter a free pass for where he was at in 2024. I know some people are totally absolved the 2024 season for Evan Carter and just put it all on the back injury. And I can't say that I'm totally on that page. I think Evan Carter was struggling. I think the back is kind of a convenient excuse. I definitely think towards the end it was affecting his swing and overall performance. But I don't think even when healthy early on in April and in May last year, Evan Carter was going well. So you really wanted to see EC come out this spring and have a really, really quality month and a half, starting in mid-February, going all the way to late March. And you just haven't seen that so far. He's probably going to hit a home run right now just because I'm talking about him. Looks like he just struck out swinging. So never mind, right on par with what we're talking about. And look, I'm a big Evan Carter fan, so don't take the criticism as hate. It's really not. We're just saying the facts. And the fact is he's not hitting well right now. That 158 average just took a couple of hits with that strikeout. I don't know. I was really, really surprised to see Evan Carter come up. Chris Young was being interviewed, and Chris Young, CY, would not commit to Evan Carter being on the opening day roster. Again, I do not think that was something any Rangers fan really expected going into late March as the Rangers look to open up their MLB season in 2025 with the Red Sox on Thursday. I definitely think that the Rangers right now clearly have plenty of dudes in the outfield. I thought it was going to be Leody Taveras potentially getting the cut, maybe a trade, maybe the waivers. I mean, I did not see Leody continuing to be a fixture after how he ended last season, but little statements here and there by Chris Young throughout the offseason have said otherwise. I think the team really wants to see Leody continue to take steps forward. I can't say I feel as confident in Leody. He's having a great spring. I think he hit another home run tonight. 1 for 3 with a home run from what it looks like, hitting 204 this spring. And I know that there are some people trying to hype up Leody in the spring he's had. I think Kennedy Landry posted on X, I think it was just when he hit the home run tonight. You know, he's hit a lot of balls hard this spring and definitely has hit some homers. I think he's got 4 or 5 for spring training. It's not like Leody has had a terrible spring, but not killing it by any means. 204 batting average, facing guys that obviously are both starters and guys trying to make rosters themselves. I thought Leote would be on the chopping block before Evan Carter ever would be. But here is what the Rangers have going on in the outfield. You've got Kevin Pillar, a guy who I told y'all probably a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, there's almost no reason you sign Kevin Pillar and bring him out of retirement just to give him a nice little spring training. I think Kevin Pillar was signed to actually contribute to the big league club. So when they signed Kevin Pillar, I had a feeling dude's probably a lock for the opening day roster unless he just looks absolutely terrible in spring training. And I don't think that's been the case. Pillar hitting 238. I think he was 0 for 1 with the strikeout tonight. But I don't think they convinced Kevin Pillar to come out of retirement just to have him play AAA baseball. So Kevin Pillar, in my mind, going to be a guy that plays a lot out there as they maneuver guys around. Kevin Pillar gives you a bat against left-handed pitching. Wyatt Langford going to be a staple there. I think we all figured that out pretty early on last year. Doley clearly going to be the guy in right. And then you've got some interesting decisions. You've got Leote as, I think right now, the front runner for the starting center field position. Not something that I expected. Not something I really wanted to see after the year Leote had last year. I'm just not in the business. And we had this conversation with Jack Leiter. Making mediocre performances, mediocre seasons sound amazing. I think the expression is, I'm not into putting lipstick on a pig. And I'm not saying that Leote is the worst baseball player I've ever seen. But I think there is a tendency in the media around the Rangers to pump up guys that are just having mediocre performances at best. And Leote, to me, you could probably tell me you haven't watched every at-bat. You haven't seen how he's driving the ball. Look, at some point, the numbers have to matter. Leote hitting 204, and Leote has not been a guy that's consistently been able to hit over 250 in a regular season. So I really don't care about how hard Leote's hitting the ball in the spring. I need to see results in April, May, June, July, August, September. And Leote hasn't been able to do that consistently throughout his career. Maybe this is the magical year where he breaks through and becomes an all-star player, lives up to the top prospect status that he attained early on in his professional career. But I'm not hopeful. I hope Leote proves me wrong. I hope that he kills it this year. I'm clearly not rooting for his failure. Leote doing poorly does not bode well for the Rangers and their success. They probably could overcome Leote's bad season with the rest of the guys that they got if he does have one. But I personally do not feel confident Leote is going to have some breakout year. I'll believe it when I see it. I'll be happy to eat crow. But I think that the Rangers right now have enough depth elsewhere that regardless of what happens with Evan Carter or Leote Taveras and how they play in 2025, the offense is going to be okay. Jock Peterson looking great. Jake Berger has had a nice spring. I don't think anybody has had really super gaudy numbers, maybe besides Wyatt Langford, who I think is 0 for 4 with 3 Ks tonight. So finally, Wyatt comes back down to earth a little bit. But beyond Wyatt Langford and Jonathan Ornelas, Higashioka, I'm just looking at some of the numbers right now. Nobody has had a killer spring offensively. Corey Seager, Marcus Semien. Semien had a nice night tonight, but I don't think anybody on the Rangers offense really had a crazy breakout spring training. But I think you had some guys taking positive strides. And I can only hope that those positive strides carry over into the season. Evan Carter, will he make the roster? That is the question. Didn't help his cause tonight. I think he only got one at bat and ended up striking out, but we shall see. I'm very, very curious what the Rangers are going to do with Evan Carter. Let me catch back up. I know I've been going on for a second here. Appreciate all y'all. Berger career season incoming. Yes, sir. Let's see. Mavs are looking rough. Mavs look great tonight. We'll talk a little Mavs at the end of the show. Anthony Davis coming back. Mavs look good tonight. One-hit wonders, come up with some new material. Come on. One-hit wonder, you're just telling me you're basic. Because about everybody has said that that's a hater on the Rangers. Give me some new content. Give me some new material. If you're going to trash talk, don't recycle the content. Come on. If you're going to trash talk the Rangers a little bit, come up with something original. That's all I'm asking. Come on. Something original. What else we got? Is that it? Did I catch up that quick? All right, y'all. Hey, if you got a comment, you got something, I definitely will get to it eventually. I try not to be spacey with y'all. I do appreciate the comments. A great spring is 204. No, by no means. I mean, look, if that was a comment on some of the Rangers beat writers saying Leote's had a great spring, I don't think 204. And I get numbers aren't everything in spring training, but I got to be completely honest. No, I don't agree. 204 to me is not an awesome spring. Yeah, I'm definitely not on that page at all. Let me see. Leote might be really good trade fodder midseason for eventual bullpen help. I do agree with that, and it's really surprising to me that the Rangers haven't traded Leote up to this point, right? I think Leote has been trade bait and should be trade bait for the past, 3 seasons? I don't think there was any other better example than 2023. Leote was hitting like 300 in early June. And I think most of us thought to ourselves, yeah, this is probably not going to last all year. But you had a prime opportunity to sell high on Leote, I think, in 2023. Now, can you play the game? Would the Rangers have won the World Series without Leote Taveras? I mean, look, the know-it-all arrogant side of me says, of course they could have. But who knows? Baseball, it's a tough game. Little things matter. Leote had definitely a few big moments. The home run off Justin Verlander had some great defensive plays out in the outfield. But the reality is, Leote went, 1 for 14 or 15 in the World Series? Or maybe he went hitless? I think he went hitless in the World Series. Doesn't mean that, they don't win the World Series without him necessarily, but Leote did not have a great 2023 postseason. He didn't. So I don't know if the Rangers are going to pull the trigger this year and actually trade him. My hope is he plays pretty well. My hope is that every outfielder for the Rangers plays really well, and then you do have flexibility. You could maybe potentially part with one of those guys to go get more bullpen help or to go get that piece, that missing piece that's going to propel you into contender status. And I do think the Rangers are contenders right now. I don't want to sit here and tell y'all that I feel like they're winning the World Series this year, no doubt, but I think they've got a shot. Would it shock me if the Rangers won the World Series this year? Absolutely not. You've got Jacob deGrom and Nate Eovaldi as your 1-2, and you've got on paper one of the best lineups in baseball. It would not shock me if they won it all this year. But we all know it's a little bit harder than that. It's a little bit harder than that. On paper, it doesn't really matter. You got to play the games. It's a long season, and it's a long postseason. But I think the Rangers definitely have the pieces. And they absolutely could get the job done in October if everybody can remain healthy. If you get a little bit of better performances from some of the guys last year that just collapsed and totally regressed, we'll see. I'm hopeful. Don't want to do too much trash talking early on, trying to stay humble, but I do feel really good about the Rangers' chances. Yeah, agreed. Leote did not do great. He did get on base for that Seager home run in game 1, worked that walk. That was huge. So maybe there is an argument they don't win the World Series without Leote. I don't know. Maybe we're being a little bit too generous with him. Maybe we're being a little too hard on him. But I am surprised that Evan Carter potentially not going to make the roster and Leote Taveras going to make the roster instead. I don't know about that. All right, Dane Dunning. Let's talk Dane. And by the way, I'm checking on YouTube. I'm going to get to y'all in just a second. Before I get to Dane Dunning, let me see what we got going on here. Natalie, what's good? Natalie says, I feel so bad for John Gray. I hate it for John Gray. Such a freak injury when you get nailed on the mound with the line drive or a ground ball. I mean, I definitely feel terrible for him. He was going to be a clear number 4, number 5 guy, maybe even number 3 starter for us. I think he's out, 6? 6 weeks. Maybe it's less than that because I know the injury happened, about a week or two ago. Feel terrible for John Gray. Fortunately, the Rangers do have some depth. I think they're going to be all right. It's not like John Gray was a staple per se in your 2025 starting rotation plans. I think he was going to be an innings eater type. I don't think you were expecting John Gray to go out and win 15 games. So John Gray out until June. Is that right, Aaron? I know I'm skipping around a little bit. Thank you for that, bud. Appreciate you. Good to see you, by the way. So out till June. Oof. I feel terrible for him. I think the Rangers are going to be able to get it done without John Gray, but just was going to be, I think, a really, really solid presence in the rotation at the back end, no doubt. Appreciate the sub, by the way. Thank you so much. And for everybody that's followed since the live has begun, thank you. Appreciate that. I did see the Seager news. Corey Seager and his wife expecting their first child. Great news. Congratulations to the Seager family. That is awesome news. So happy for them. Let me keep going here. Thank you. Appreciate that, Jake's family. I am definitely excited for this year, y'all. Really, really pumped. I said when I began the live, I'm probably not going to be doing every game like I did last year, but my goal this year, my minimum, my floor is I want to go live at least once per series, whether we do like a series wrap up. I don't know. Or maybe we go live after a really incredible game in a given 3 or 4 game set. Maybe we do more than one game in a series, but I want to establish kind of the floor for my lives this year will be at least one time per series, and at minimum, probably a series wrap up after the last game has been played in a 3 or 4 game set or a 2 game set for some of those NL interleague play games. So that's the plan right now. Appreciate y'all. Let's talk Dane Dunning. So I'm a little bit conflicted on this Dane Dunning story. Dane has not been great this spring. ERA is over 8. And last year in 2024, Dane was not great after being the Rangers pitcher of the year in 2023. And that is the cruelty of the game of baseball. It's a beautiful sport. We love it. But that is the cruelty of baseball. You can have an incredible season one year and the next year be totally mediocre or a below average player. And Dane Dunning, that is the kind of fall that he has had over the last, year and a half. Dane, a lackluster 2024. Rangers were really hoping to see some positive things out of him this spring. He has not looked good. Again, ERA ballooning over 8 towards the end of spring training. And Dane Dunning outrighted to waivers. A team has the ability to claim him and his, nearly $3 million salary. But if no team claims him, the Rangers can send him to AAA. I have to think that there's going to be a club that probably takes a chance on Dane Dunning. I would be really surprised if he totally cleared waivers. I think that Dane definitely has potential. I don't think he's washed. I don't think that he is never going to be able to find success again in the major leagues, but perhaps a change of scenery. Does Dane Dunning need to make that total shift to the bullpen? He's got some nasty stuff at times. He really does. I kind of always felt like Dane was better out of the pen. I know that he had a lot of success out of the pen for us. Was that a couple of years ago where he was just dominant out of the pen for a time and eventually they brought him back into the fold, into the starting rotation? But maybe a total change of scenery, maybe a shift strictly to bullpen duties. I don't know what it's going to be for Dane Dunning. But as a Ranger over the last year and a half, it has not been pretty. I think that the timing sucks for him right before the season. You've done a full spring training with the Rangers. Ideally, you just go right over onto another club and hopefully he has a 40-man spot somewhere else. I think for his sake, that's what's best for him. I don't think Dane Dunning wants to go to AAA. I sure wouldn't. And maybe you have to just battle it out and tough it out down there if you're Dane, but I'm probably hoping another team picks me up and I can avoid AAA altogether. I guess that the role of Dane Dunning and what he's going to play on another team is going to vary based on needs, but I think that's probably best case scenario for him at this point. Very surprised. And then I read that today he was throwing a simulated game. So how awkward is that? You got waived, but you're throwing a simulated game today, this afternoon, before the Royals and Rangers squared off this evening. Dane Dunning was throwing a simulated game at Globe Life, awaiting whether or not he gets claimed on waivers. Awkward. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure it's just business to these guys at some point, but little awkward throwing a simulated game at Globe Life after the team has waived you. Okay, so we'll see what happens with Dane. I'm sure we'll hear news on that within the next couple of days, and that will allow the Rangers to free up a 40-man spot. I think that is definitely the plan at this point. We keep going here. Absolutely going to take as many comments and questions as I can. I'll be there opening day. Sweet. Love it. Do I think Church makes the team? Speaking of Church, did he pitch tonight? Yes, he did. He did not pitch great tonight. An inning and 2/3. I take it back. That's a pretty solid outing. I saw the first couple of numbers and got a little nervous. 1 2/3 for Church. 3 hits allowed. Don't love that, but no walks. 2 Ks. 4.15 ERA. I think that Church right now absolutely can be a guy that contributes for the Rangers. I think as everything, I know this is like a very cheap, easy way out, but spring training is just so hard. Like you see a guy have an excellent spring, like Robert Garcia, 1.23 ERA. I mean, seriously, like you see numbers like that and you get pumped, but then you say to yourself, yeah, but it's spring training. So I go back and forth, y'all. I'm not even going to lie. That's why I just am excited for the season to start, because I cannot tell based on spring who is going to have the killer years and who's not. It's not as simple as saying, yeah, they hit 350 in spring training, they're going to have an awesome breakout year. I tend to think you have a good spring training, good things are going to happen to you in the regular season, but it doesn't always work out that way. And vice versa. Guys that have really poor spring trainings, they don't always go on to have really bad seasons. Baseball is like that. But I think Church absolutely going to be a guy eventually that makes his way to the big league club, whether he gets a roster spot or not. I liked what I saw in Church last year in AAA. In fact, he was a guy I kind of said and offered up at several different times, do we need to call up Mark Church? This was in August of last year. And even in the dog days of summer when the Rangers were dealing with so many injuries, you don't want to rush prospects, but I thought Mark Church probably could have contributed last year. So I definitely think he's got a spot eventually on the squad. We'll see what happens, but I like what I'm seeing from Mark Church, no doubt. We keep going. See what else I got. Who do I see in center field? I think it's going to be Leote. I mean, that's not who I would really absolutely love to be in center field, but I think it's going to be Leote. I really would rather see the Rangers run it with something like Langford, Peterson, and Garcia, and you take a little bit of a subtraction on the defensive end, and then you're opened up at the DH spot. You can put anybody in there. You can get Josh Smith in there. That would be my preference. I'm not even going to lie to y'all. I'd rather them just totally scrap the Evan Carter, Leote Taveras battle competition. Just put Langford in center and have Peterson and Garcia play the corner positions. I'd rather do something like that. And I know that Jock isn't awesome, but I would take Jock out in the field and his bat over Leote playing decent center field. I mean, Leote to me is not an above average fielder. Maybe the metrics say otherwise, but if you watched every Rangers game last year, you would see some boneheaded plays from Leote out in center field very consistently. I felt like in the summer, misplayed balls, bad jumps, drops. Like Leote was not, in my opinion, a superb outfielder last year. So I would rather have Jock Peterson subpar defense in left field or right field, whatever you want to do, and take his bat over Leote. And if Evan Carter isn't hitting well, I mean, that's what I mean. I think you got to go at some point with the offense, and you take a little bit of a subtraction on the defensive end. I don't think that Leote's defense is that good that he needs to be out in the outfield over a Peterson, over a Garcia, over Langford. I'd probably run it with those three guys, and it would have to get pretty terrible out in the field with Jock Peterson for me to think about putting Leote back out there. I love it because it opens up flexibility with the DH. You can put Jock, obviously, in the DH spot from time to time, but Josh Smith opens up a clear path for him to play every day. You don't even have to worry about Leote or worry about Evan Carter. If Evan Carter is going to go to the minor leagues, I mean, Chris Young hinting that the roster spot is still up in the air. Like, if you're not going to give Evan Carter everyday playing time, just forget that competition altogether. Put Josh Smith as your DH and call it a day. If it's me with Evan Carter, by the way, I appreciate the comment, Bearded Clone. What's good? For me, I'm giving Evan Carter everyday playing time. He's your top prospect. I know that he hasn't looked great in spring, but I'm giving Evan Carter a chance. I don't care what the spring says in terms of the numbers. I want to give Evan Carter about 5 to 6 weeks of consistent playing time. If he's not doing great, you send him down in May and you go to plan B. But at some point, they need to take the training wheels off Evan Carter. Let the dude play every day. Let him get that everyday rhythm. Stop platooning him and just see what you got in a full sample size in the regular season. All you've really got with Evan Carter right now is September 2023 and October 2023. That's all you got. I would love to see them totally take the reins off Carter. Just let him play every day. If he's struggling, if it's not working out, you can always send him back down. But for me, I've seen what I need to see from Leote. I know that the club wants to so badly see him succeed and wants to so badly be right on him. And maybe this is Leote's year. We've gone off about Leote enough on the show already. Maybe. But I would really love to see them give Evan Carter a bona fide shot to play every day. And if you're not going to do that, just eliminate the Carter-Leote competition altogether and put Wyatt Langford in center and fill the corner outfield positions with a rotation of Peterson, Josh Smith, and Adolis Garcia. Give me the offense. We all know that we're going to look up at the end of May and Leote is probably going to be hitting 225. I mean, I would be shocked if Leote is even close to 300 at the end of May. I mean, I would be beside myself. And I know this comes off as straight up hate. I hope that that's not the case. I would be absolutely beside myself if Leote is even sniffing 300, even close to it at the end of May. But that would be my desired outcome there. I don't think the Rangers are going to do it. I think that they want Leote and the steady defensive presence out there. My rebuttal to that, I don't think what you're getting from Leote defensively outweighs what he's taking away from the lineup offensively. Can't hit lefties. You have him in there against righties. He's had a little bit of pop this spring. Is it going to carry over to the major league season? I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. I will believe it when I see it. John, what's good, man? Thanks for tuning in. It's been a little while. Appreciate you. Yeah, I'm digging what Jock has shown us already, too. That was the comment. Digging what Jock has shown us already. Jock Peterson is a gamer, dude. Like, just that clubhouse presence that you need, that every club needs. Jock had a home run tonight, hitting 263 with a 1054 OPS. Wow. Jock's having a great spring. Like, I would say I didn't really touch on him a lot earlier when I was going through the numbers. Jock has had a really solid spring. Like, home run number, let's see, what's the box score here? Home run number 5 this spring. Remember, Wyatt Langford hit 5 bombs last spring. Jock Peterson, 5 homers in the spring season. I love to see that. Look, do the math on that. 5 homers a month. Multiply that by 6 months in a baseball season. You're getting 30 bombs from Jock. Take that. Who else hit a home run tonight? Berger hit a bomb. Stimmy. Oh, heck yeah. Leote hit one. We talked about that. Yeah, I'm really loving what I'm seeing from Jock Peterson. Clearly, we know Jock is a guy that hits the righties way better than the lefties. So that's why you bring in Kevin Pillar. I am really, really excited to see what Jock has in store for us in 2025. I thought it was a great signing. My really good buddies know I have had a affinity for this Jock signing for the past couple of years. I wanted to see them sign Jock like 2 years ago to get outfield depth and outfield help. I'm glad they finally listened to me. Chris Young and the Rangers finally listened and signed Jock Peterson. They must have tuned into an episode of Ride on Rangers at some point. Am I right? Shoot. Jock Peterson, though, great signing. Love it and love what I'm seeing from him this spring. Totally. Mike, what's good, man? Thanks for hanging out. Leote keeps getting leashed because Boch loves the kid, talks about him glowingly in every interview he's mentioned. Mike, that's great. I actually have never really considered that before. Now I'm going to be watching really closely. I would agree. My comment earlier was, it seems like every time Chris Young talks about Leote, it's kind of the same thing. So the organization, I think as a whole, really loves him. And I don't know what it's going to take for them to not love him anymore, because he's hit, 225 like the past 2 or 3 seasons. And I don't know. I don't get the hype at this point. Maybe he's going to bust out and be an all-star caliber player in 2025. But again, believe it when I see it. I will believe it when I see it. Sweater says World Series champs. Yeah, you guys got the weird mirroring thing on TikTok. All y'all on YouTube, you can see it a little bit better. Oh man, am I mirrored on I hope I'm not mirrored on YouTube too. I try and take that off. Everything's looking backwards. Nah. Just get the straight up look. I hope Josh stays healthy. He could be an all-star. Which one? Josh Smith, I'm assuming, because we were talking about Josh Smith. I mean, Josh Young too. I think you got to hope Josh Young stays healthy. Josh Young, let's talk about his spring. 204. I think you would have loved to have seen Josh Young had a little bit of a better spring training. But again, let's just get the season started. It's like almost feels like spinning your wheels to get too in-depth, breaking down all of the spring training stuff. We just got to get real games under our belt, and then we can start analyzing and breaking it all down a lot better. Luke Jackson, by the way, let's talk a little Luke Jackson. He got the save tonight, 2 strikeouts, pitched a clean 9th. Chris Martin pitched the 8th. Garcia pitched the 7th, and it just kind of had me wondering, are we going to see a lot of mixing and matching this year, 7, 8, 9? Might this 7, 8, 9 that we just saw tonight at Globe Life against the Royals be what ultimately ends up happening? I know that they kind of came out, I think it was a Dallas Morning News article that I was reading, and Luke Jackson is going to be a late inning guy. Whether you throw Luke Jackson in the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, who knows? But the 3 late inning guys at this point appear to be Luke Jackson, Robert Garcia, and of course, Chris Martin. I'm good with it. I don't think you need to have a closer role. Like, I felt like back in the 90s, early 2000s, it was really a huge deal. You got to have a closer, like the closer by committee. Nobody really loved that concept. But now with analytics and with how baseball works, I just don't feel like you really have to have a set guy. Like, clearly, if you can hand the ball off to a reliable guy, you want that every day. If you've got a guy that can lock down the 9th inning, of course. My point is just, I don't get nervous about not having one this day and age, how baseball works right now in 2025. If you got to mix and match a little bit, so be it. Like, if you've got all lefties coming up in the 9th inning, why not throw Robert Garcia out there and see what happens? So I'm okay with Luke Jackson, Chris Martin, Robert Garcia. I think it's going to be like that 5th, 6th inning. And then, sometimes in the 7th inning, you're not going to have one of those guys available. I think we're going to be in another scenario where it's that bridge guy. Who can bridge the game to the late innings if you're not getting 6 innings out of your starter? Hopefully we can, but if you're not getting the quality starts and 6 innings solid out of your starting pitching, who are going to be those guys that are going to be trusted, that are going to be relied upon to get the game to the late inning relievers? That's my biggest concern when I think about the bullpen. I think to put a blanket over the whole bullpen and say it's a big problem, it's a big question mark, I'm not there. I think the Rangers actually have a lot of solid arms out in the bullpen. And Chris Young and Fenstermaker, Figueroa, all those guys, I think that they have picked out some really, really good value players. I think we're going to see some great seasons out of some of these bullpen arms that maybe we weren't really expecting at face value. Last year, we saw that with David Robertson, and we saw that with Kirby Yates. I trust that Chris Young and company have done it again this year until proven otherwise. I like 7, 8, 9, who we've got right now with Garcia, Martin, and Jackson in any particular order. Who's going to step up and really be counted upon to bridge the game from the starter to the late inning stoppers? That's the big question mark. That's what it was last year in 2024. We couldn't get the game consistently enough. Hand it off to Kirby Yates, hand it off to David Robertson. That 7th inning was always a problem. Remember, last year in the 7th inning, the Rangers, I don't know if they ever climbed out of the basement spot. They had the worst run differential in baseball in 2024 for a very long time in the 7th inning. 7th inning was abhorrent. It was terrible for the Rangers last year. I hope that there's not a similar story this year in the 6th and 7th inning for Texas. I really am hopeful that they're going to be able to find a reliable, consistent arm that is going to be that valuable bridge player. We keep going. Let's see. John says, how are we feeling about Pilar? You might have already talked about him. Big fan of Pilar in regards to the defense, and I think Pilar is going to be solid against lefties. I don't think the Rangers want to play Evan Carter or Leody Taveras at this point against left-handed pitching. I think that they are going to be putting Pilar out there against any kind of lefty. You didn't bring Pilar out of retirement. Dude was retired. Did you really bring him out of retirement to send him down to AAA? So I think Kevin Pilar is definitely going to be on the opening day roster, and I think he's going to be the everyday guy against lefties. I think Leody will probably be the starter against righties, but I would say Pilar is probably going to be the guy out there every time we have a lefty. So Garrett Crochet starting for the Boston Red Sox on Thursday, opening day. I would expect to see Pilar out there. Don't know where you want to hit him. I would do that down towards the bottom of the order, of course, maybe even as my number 9 guy. I think right now, any center fielder you put needs to be hitting 9th. I don't think they need to be hitting any higher than that, whether it's Leody, Evan Carter, or Kevin Pilar. Hit him 9th. But I think the Pilar signing is valuable, great veteran presence, and you get a guy that can handle the left-handed pitching. Let me see if I can pull up some splits on Pilar. We haven't talked about him too in-depth, but let's go to Pilar's numbers career-wise against lefties, and let's look at the splits, see if we can figure anything out. Let's see. He did play a little right field tonight. Interesting. Played a little right field, did Kevin Pilar. Took over for Doley. Doley went 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts tonight. So Kevin Pilar in his career, let's go to the splits. Oh, yeah, because that's 2025. Oh, come on. Let's see what he did in 24 and 23 instead of doing career. So he had a decent number of at-bats, almost 300 ABs in 2024. And against lefties, he was 310. I love it when I just assume something and it ends up being true. So Kevin Pilar, 310 batting average against lefties last year, and that was in 116 at-bats. So that's why you bring in Kevin Pilar. 310 batting average against lefties last year. Let's just see what it was in 23. So in 23, 250 batting average, but that comps to a 202 average against righties. So clearly Kevin Pilar hits the lefties better than the righties. Let's go back to 2022. Did not play much in 2022. Let's go to 2021, and then we'll stop. 2021, lefties, he hit 240, righties 225. So I got to think the Rangers are locking in on the 310 average last year. Hopefully he can just hit like 275, and he can just be a solid guy that you throw in there when there's a left-handed pitcher. Give Leote, give Evan Carter a little break. I think that's got to be the plan at this point. I don't think that Teodo is making the team. I think Teodo could be a guy that gets brought up later in the season, but I don't think Teodo is making the team for the opening day roster. Were there any DFAs that we could possibly pick up before Thursday pitching-wise? I don't know if the Rangers are going to be making any more moves. I think they got Patrick Corbin, which, by the way, I'm not very excited about. I hope that Patrick Corbin can kind of be an Andrew Heaney type for us. Just give the team a chance to win, eat up innings, give us 5-6 innings, 3-4 earned runs. I think that's what you got to be expecting out of Patrick Corbin. I don't think the Rangers are going to go get anybody else, though, John. By the way, we talked a little bit about Mark Church. I got to think Mark Church is probably 50-50 on making the squad. I really like what I've seen from Mark Church. I thought the Rangers could have pulled him up a little bit sooner last year. But I wouldn't be surprised if both Teodo and Church, maybe by the end of the season, are on the roster when things start expanding. Spencer, what's good, man? I do think we kind of talked about it already. I do think there's a very good chance that Evan Carter starts in AAA. And I think that you can really smooth that over pretty well. Hey, EC, you missed the almost the entire 2024 season. You need a little bit more time. Go to AAA. We'll monitor your progress. If you're doing well, if you start heating up, we'll bring you up for the summertime. I don't think that it's like a devastating blow that Evan Carter goes back down to AAA. I mean, he's not going to be happy about it, but I don't think that it's the worst thing in the world. Call it an extended spring training. Give him the month of April down to AAA, reevaluate at the beginning of May, and see where he's at. If he's still hitting 225 or 200, yeah, he probably needs to stay right where he's at. But if you see Evan Carter killing it, he's hitting 300, he's hitting 325 down to AAA over the month of April. Now you've got a tougher decision, especially if Leote is struggling or scuffling at all in his everyday role against right-handed pitching. John, I agree about Dunning, just so good in 2023. Remember, Dane Dunning, Rangers pitcher of the year in 2023. Pitcher of the year. So I definitely feel for the guy. It is how baseball goes. It's one of the toughest sports. I think it's the toughest sport to play out of all the sports. And I love pretty much every sport there is. Haven't played every sport there is on a high level, but I think baseball probably the toughest sport in the world to play. And Dane Dunning, regardless of his pitcher of the year status in 23, a rough 24, a rough spring training in 25. I just hate that it's 3 days before the season. They gave him every opportunity. They gave Dane Dunning every opportunity to prove himself. You can't fault the Rangers in that regard. But over an 8 ERA, whew, yeah, that's not going to work too well. Any sneaky guys making it, in your opinion? Seems like a lock, the Vandy boys. Yeah, I was going to say, before I read the last part of your comment, or the last part of your question, I was not so sure that we were going to have any of the Vandy boys on the opening day roster. I didn't think Jack Leiter was a lock to make it. I did not think that Kumar Rocker was going to be on the roster. I think now with the Bradford injury and, of course, with the John Gray injury, both those guys are probably going to be up. I really hope Jack Leiter carries over some of the good stuff he did in the spring to MLB season, into the regular season. This is a big year for him. I know maybe there's some Rangers fans out there that are willing to go through another subpar or mediocre season of Jack Leiter. For me, I think Jack has got to show you he can at least be a solid number 4, number 5. Clearly, you want him to be a top 3 starter in your rotation at some point, as you want with Kumar Rocker as well. But for me, I don't think you can go through another subpar mediocre year with Jack Leiter. You have got to get that guy consistently getting outs, getting strikeouts, demonstrating and displaying some of the repertoire, some of the stuff that caused you to draft him number 2 overall 3-4 years ago. Jack Leiter, I've said it almost every live this offseason. It's a put up or shut up year for Jack Leiter. I don't think you can give him this entire year, 2025, up in the big leagues. You look up in August, September, and he's got a 4.55 ERA. I don't know. Is that good enough? Like, that would be my next question to y'all. What is the absolute worst Jack Leiter can do, and you still feel like he's worth keeping around and giving a roster spot to, and not trading or not totally giving up on? For me, it has to be right around that 4 spot. I need to see 4 to 4.25. I need to see consistency. That's what I'm going to be looking for Jack. I think Kumar Rocker, you've got a little bit more of a longer runway, being that he's coming off an injury. But if you give Jack Leiter a full season in the bigs and he goes ahead and gives you a 5+ ERA year, I mean, I don't know. There's probably going to be some people, even with the 5+ ERA year, thinking, yeah, he showed a lot of great stuff. The fastball, 100 miles an hour. Look, I never am shocked at the ability of some people to make mediocre, make subpar look amazing. I just can't do it. The numbers, they don't lie at some point. And I said that with Leody Taveras, and I also will say it with Jack Leiter. Sam goes on to say they've got to give them a chance. The moment they moved on from Reagans, he became a top pitcher in the league. Got to hold on. I definitely think you give Jack Leiter this year. Kumar Rocker, I think you can give a couple of years. Jack, for me, I think you got to have that 4 to 4.25 ERA. And I think I'm being generous with the 4 to 4.25 ERA. This is the number 2 overall pick, y'all. And I know that the baseball savants out there push back on me like, bro, you can't be thinking about this like it's an NFL number 2 overall pick. I'm sorry. You give a guy millions of dollars. He's your number 2 overall pick. I don't think it's too much to expect that he has a season where he has a 4 to 4.25 ERA in year number 4 as a professional baseball player. Look, John, I think 3 ERA, 5 innings. I mean, look, that might be, I think, a little bit lofty. I'd be overjoyed with a 3.50 ERA from Jack Leiter. But I think at minimum, you need 4 to 4.25 ERA. And you know what? Going back to Sam's point, by the way, was basically like, look at what happened with Cole Reagans. You gave up on him too early, and now he's killing it with KC. My rebuttal to that would be, is that because the Rangers just let go of him, or is that because KC develops pitchers better than the Rangers do? Sadly, I would have to go with the latter. I think that it's more about the Rangers' development ability, less about, some kind of superstitious, don't get rid of them too soon. And Sam, by no means am I saying that was your exact thought with that comment, but I think it's a deeper issue. The Rangers have not been able to consistently develop pitching in the minor leagues. Yes, you've drafted a few guys pretty high up. I mean, I even look at Brock Porter, who you remember was that number 3 guy behind Rocker and behind Leiter a few years back in that draft. So Brock Porter, he had a pretty rough year in the minors last year. Brock Porter not coming along, I think, how some fans expected him to. Is that another symptom of what I'm talking about with the developmental issues? I really do think that is the problem here. And so in that regard, how much can you really blame Jack Leiter? At some point, the players out on the field got to perform. Like, you can only blame the coaches so much. You can only blame the development process so much. But the fact that Cole Reagans hops onto Kansas City and becomes an ace within a half season period, that tells you a lot. And they did, I believe, I read, they did tweak Cole Reagans' delivery, Cole Reagans' mechanics a little bit. And that was a big reason why he took off. So Jack Leiter, we probably need to give a little bit of blame to the development process among the Rangers coaches in the minor leagues. But ultimately, Jack Leiter is the one throwing the pitches. And you got to have success sooner or later, especially with the lofty expectations that are placed on Jack Leiter by default for being a number 2 pick overall in the Major League Baseball draft a few years ago. All right, let's move forward. We are almost done with our show. TikTok, I know I've been forgetting about you guys. Bobby says the Brewers are going to make Jack Leiter a stud. Shoot, you know that's how it's going to go. Sam, I totally agree with you. You know the Rangers are going to trade Jack Leiter. Maybe they'll get somebody super awesome in return. You know they're going to trade Jack Leiter, and he's going to go be something special. Like, it's just how it goes. Spencer, what's good? I do agree. Luke Jackson looked good tonight. I think he's going to be a solid guy at the back end of the pen. Yeah, Aaron, of course, I think Corey Seager is good. He's more than good. Corey Seager is the freaking man. Amazing. Let's go, Rangers. Mata, appreciate you. We keep going. Looks like I got all that stuff. We're good there. Whole lineup, top to bottom, Matt. I've done this in the past. I want to see if I can make any tweaks. So I would have to go Simeon Seager. And then I think you go Langford in the 3 spot. I think he's proven over the spring. I know it's a small sample size, but I think you've got to give Wyatt Langford a chance in the 3 spot. He's got a full year of Major League Baseball under his belt. I would give Wyatt the 3 spot. After that, I'd go Jock Peterson 4. I think you go Doley 5. I think after that, in the 6th spot, it starts getting a little bit tricky. But I probably at that point would like to see Jake Berger. Then do you throw in maybe Jonah Heim, Kyle Higashioka in the 7-8 spot? Center field, I'm putting in the 9 hole. So I don't think there's any other alternative there. Josh Young, I know I missed out on him. I think it's going to be probably Jake Berger, Josh Young, 6-7. And then I think you go catching spot 8 and you go center field 9 spot. So whether it's Leote or Pilar or EC, that would be my lineup. By the way, Mike, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you, bud. Yes, on Thursday, I am planning on going live immediately after opening day comes to a close. What time is the game on Thursday? I got to figure this out. It might have to be a little bit later than what I planned, depending on game time here. So let's see what we got. Thursday, Rangers are playing 4:05 Eastern time, 3:05 start time. So that's right. Game will be over right when I'm getting off of work. I probably can go live pretty quick after the game. So I'm going to try. If I can't, I'll go live maybe around this same time, maybe like, 9:30 Central time, Texas time. We'll see what I can pull off, but that's my plan. Keep going. The release of Dunning for only $2 million tells you they are hurting financially. Look, I don't pretend to know the Rangers checkbook, but we do know it was a big point of emphasis. They were trying to be really careful with the money, not wanting to go over the luxury tax. So, look, it wouldn't shock me if that's the case. But at the same time, who really knows except for them? We keep going. Is that the problem with our pitching coaches? May need to look inward for pitching failures. I think Mike Maddox is a really good coach, a really good pitching coach. I don't think he can do everything. So you look at Mike Maddox and his career numbers with some of the staffs he's managed. I think Mike Maddox has had a lot of success in Major League Baseball, but I don't think that you can solely squarely put Mike Maddox responsible for the development of all the young guys in the minors. The Rangers have a lot of other staff that helps with that. So I have a lot of faith in Mike Maddox up at the big league level, but I do wonder, minor league level, what's going on with some of these guys that aren't developing at the clip that you expected them to? Jack Leiter, I think he was coming along really, really nicely. And then you kind of saw him hit a block in AAA and then hit a block, of course, when he came up to the major leagues. Brock Porter, a big, I think 4th round guy a few years back, struggling in the minor leagues. Clearly, you got Teodo looking great. You've got some dudes down in the minor leagues that are really flashing potential. So let's not totally crap on the Rangers developmental guys down at the minor league level. I think maybe we are going to see some breakthroughs. But I do just kind of wonder, like with the case of Reagans and some of the other guys that have quickly gone on to other clubs and done great, was that the issue? I think time is going to have to tell. I know that's a bit of a cop-out, but that's the best I got for right now. All right, so we got Evo versus Garrett Crochet on Thursday. I would expect the Rangers to employ that left-handed lineup, so I'm not going to be shocked if Kevin Pillar gets the start. Josh Young, we know, really hits the lefties well. Might he be up a little bit in the order? Josh Young splits against lefties in, I believe, the 2023 season. Dude rakes off the lefties. So might we see Josh Young bump up a little bit in the lineup against the lefty? Garrett Crochet, by the way, against the Rangers last year. Let's see if I can pull up some splits against Texas, if possible, from his time with the White Sox. I feel like we had some success against him. I don't feel like he totally dominated us, but maybe I'm just dreaming that. So let's see, 2024, and let's do Rangers. Let's see what our numbers are against him. So 250, we hit 250 off of him. No homers. So 4 for 16, 7 strikeouts. So not amazing, but look, it's not like the Rangers raked off of him in 2024. But I think we were able to work some long at-bats. I don't think he went very far. I think he went 5 or 6 innings, 2 walks. So definitely a tough pitcher. I think it's going to be a great matchup. Evo, Crochet, that's classic. I love the Red Sox matchup to start opening day. I mean, look, in the past years, the Cubs and some of the other matchups they've had, the Phillies, right? I'm a fan of Red Sox Rangers. I think that's awesome. Kind of reminds me of early 2000s. I know my dad, early 2000s, I think at the old ballpark, Kurt Schilling started for the Red Sox against the Rangers. This was like Ian Kinsler's rookie year. I love the Red Sox Rangers matchup. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Mike, here we go. Let me see what I missed. Got to remember the Rangers turned over their entire minor league pitching development staff a couple years back. Just now seeing the results. Thank you for reminding me of that. Guys, look, it's hard for me to keep up with all of the changes, the coaching changes, the staff changes. But Mike, you do bring up a good point. So we give this new staff a shot. We say, hey, maybe the change is going to make a big difference. As I said, time will tell, but it does seem like a breakthrough is imminent, especially when you look at guys like Teodo, when you look at some of the other guys that they have up and coming in AAA and AA. I'm going to be glass half full guy, like I always am. Glass half full, let's hope for the best, and let's see some of these pitchers come up from the minors and start shining. That is necessary for teams to have extended and solid, consistent success over a 3, 4, 5 year period. Got to develop the pitching, got to have guys come up and give you quality innings, both in the bullpen and in the starting rotation. I'm really excited about Emiliano Teodo. I think a lot of Rangers fans are. Don't think he makes the opening day roster. I do think we'll see him make his debut later this year at some point. That will be my prediction. All right. I'm going to wrap up the show. I am super pumped for Thursday, y'all. We'll be back on Thursday going live, and then I will probably check back in at the end of the weekend as the Red Sox series comes to a close. So all y'all that followed me last year, we're not going every game this year, but we are going to, at minimum, do a series wrap up, go live at the end, at the conclusion of every series. And we'll try and do more than that if we can, but that's going to be our baseline. But we'll go live Thursday, special occasion, opening day, Right on Rangers edition. Come join us. Come hang out. Would love to see all y'all again. And then we'll go live. I believe Sunday is the last game in that series, if I am not mistaken. Let me try and check that out if I can. But that sounds right. Usually it's a Friday day off. And then at that point, you play Saturday, Sunday. Let me see if I can get this schedule pulled up and give y'all the preview, the full preview, all the pitching matchups and everything like that. That's going to be my plan if my computer will cooperate with me. My goodness, whenever you need it to work fast, it goes slow. Isn't that technology for you? All right. So on Saturday, we got Walker Buehler. Rangers have not announced the starter yet. Sunday, looks like it's going to be the same thing. Rangers starter, I believe, is to be determined. Boston has not announced a starter for Sunday either. And Friday, actually, they are playing every game. They are playing every day. It's a 4-game set. Okay, cool. Tanner Houck starting on Friday night. Walker Buehler Saturday night. Rangers have not announced a starter past Nate Eovaldi on Thursday. There we go, y'all. It's going to be fun. Baseball season is upon us. And hey, the Mavs getting a win tonight. Anthony Davis making his return. Gotta love it. This is a great time of year. You got March Madness. You've got baseball beginning. You've got NBA, NHL playoffs starting in April. This in October, like April and October, peak time if you are a sports fan. Peak. I cannot think of a better time. October and late March, early April. Love it. Go Rangers. Absolutely, Mike. Eric, good to see you, man. We'll see what your Mariners do this year. It should be a pretty tight AL West race. I think it's going to be competitive. Tristan, thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate you. Hey, come back on Thursday. Come hang out post-game. We'll be back. If you haven't hit that follow button yet, by the way, hit it. Hit that subscribe button as well. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that notification bell. Some of y'all haven't hit that notification bell, and it's no wonder you're missing out on all this great conversation surrounding the Texas Rangers. Man, y'all got to hit that notification bell. Get notified whenever I go live, and that way you won't miss out on all the good stuff. And look, if you haven't shared my page, if you haven't shared my account, my channel with a fellow Rangers fan, come on now. We got to keep growing this good group of people we got talking Rangers baseball and talking baseball in general. I would be incredibly grateful. Share my page, share this video with a good buddy of yours that loves the Rangers. Let's keep growing this excellent, excellent community. Greatly appreciate all y'all. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the questions. Helps keeps the show fresh. I am ready to rock and roll with the 2025 season. Rangers, it's an odd year. Bruce Bochy, just saying, might this be the year the Rangers return to glory? I would love to see it. Would love to see it. All right, y'all. Have a great rest of your Monday night. We'll see you on Thursday for opening day. And as I always say to end every show, God bless and go Rangers.